Welcome to Voices of Californians, a nonpartisan gubernatorial podcast, a series in partnership between CBS News Sacramento and United Way California Capital Region, created to give voters across California the opportunity to hear directly from candidates seeking to serve as the state's next governor. I'm Steve Large with CBS News Sacramento, and joining me is the president and CEO of United Way California Capital Region, Dr. Dawnté Early.
Thank you so much, Steve. These conversations focus on the issues facing Californians and are designed to support, inform, and engage voters. At United Way California Capital Region, our work starts with a simple belief. When people have access to opportunity and when communities are connected and supported, everyone benefits. Opening up a dialogue on issues that are impacting communities all across our state gives voters the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates on their vision for the future of California.
Any views expressed in these videos are those of the participating candidates and not CBS News Sacramento's or United Way's. Participation in this conversation is not intended as an endorsement of any candidate. Now let's quickly discuss how candidates were identified and the rules. Because this is an educational forum, United Way has established clear, neutral, and objective criteria to determine which candidates were invited to participate. In a state as large and diverse as California, many people feel called to serve, and that's a good thing. More than 100 individuals have taken steps to run for governor in 2026. At the same time, our responsibility is to create a process that is fair, practical, and focused on helping voters learn. To remain nonpartisan and transparent, we adopted clear, objective inclusion criteria that are applied consistently to all candidates.
So to be eligible for an invitation to participate, candidates were required to meet all of the following by March 5th, 2026. Officially qualifying for the California gubernatorial ballot, demonstrating active campaign activity through required filings, and appearing in a reputable, publicly available poll showing at least 1% public support statewide. Every candidate who met these criteria received the same information and the same opportunity to participate. Participation is voluntary, and choosing to take part or not should not be interpreted as endorsement or preference by United Way or CBS News Sacramento. Those criteria meeting candidates were invited to participate in solo interviews to be filmed April 13th through April 16th, either in person at our studio in West Sacramento, California, or virtually with Steve and me.
Now, all the videos of the candidates who elected to participate are available to view now. Every candidate responded to the same questions and had the same amount of time to answer those questions. They can choose to conclude their answer ahead of the timer, but may not exceed it. I will serve as the moderator for the purposes of this conversation and will be keeping this conversation on track. Finally, CBS News Sacramento and United Way have prepared questions for the candidates. Neither Dr. Early nor myself will ask follow-up questions to the candidates' answers, but rather move on to the next question after a response is completed. Now let's begin. So this conversation, we begin here with Sheriff Chad Bianco, a candidate for the governor in this 2026 election. And thanks for joining us, Sheriff Bianco.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm going to kick it off with our first question here, centering on the issue of California affordability. According to the California Public Policy Institute, 7 in 10 Californians expect bad financial times ahead. Californians are paying more for basics and expecting things to get worse. Why should voters believe you'll actually lower costs? And what's one policy you guarantee will put money back in their pockets?
Yeah. So basically, it's ideology. California is suffering from a one-party rule. We can only go back to 16 years for one-party rule, but it goes back more like 30 years with a complete control of the Assembly and the Senate, and only a partial reprieve with a Republican governor. But this ideological agenda is exactly what's causing the cost of living to be so high. So I'm surprised that it's only 7 out of 10. I would like to know who the other 3 are, because everyone I talk to says that the situation here is bleak and it's only going to get worse. I have the last 8 years as the sheriff of Riverside County, which is the second largest in California, the fourth largest in the country. My operating budget is just shy of $1.3 billion a year. Not only do I know how to run a budget, I know how to run it in the black. And I've been in the black every single year. I don't believe governments are supposed to run in the black. And not only that, we have substantially cut not only waste fraud and abuse from my agency when I took over, but we have been successful in eliminating it from other agencies and other departments within the county of Riverside to save taxpayers millions. That, on a state level, decreases the overall cost of government, the overall cost of things, basically the need for your taxpayer money through taxes and fees. And there's a real argument to reduce those. So it's basically a history. I have a proven history of doing that. And whether anyone likes it or not, I'm the only person on this ballot that actually has that proven history. I don't have to just tell you what I'm going to do. I've already shown you, there's already a record, and we're just going to continue that into Sacramento. Now, the issue that is driving up the cost of living in California for everyone is really, it is 400,000 or more regulations that are being imposed upon Californians and California businesses. Double, triple, and quadruple of any other state in the country. And all of those have to be removed. There is absolutely no reason for them other than obtaining fees, restrictions on business, those types of things, taxes, increasing fees, basically to fund bigger government. And all of those have to end. If you ask a business why they are leaving California, every single one of them says because of regulation and business taxes. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or anything other than common sense to say, then we have to eliminate the regulation and we have to eliminate the taxes. And I am going to do both. The beauty of a regulation that our regular government right now, our failed government in Sacramento with our governor and the current one-party rule in the legislature, if they wanted to make our lives better, they could have done it today, yesterday, the day before, or 5 years ago, because they can do anything they want. What I will do as your governor is remove all of the regulation. They are not laws. They are imposed upon us by unelected commissions and boards that we can suspend immediately with the stroke of a pen. Not only are we going to remove all of the regulations on our oil industry, but also the regulations on our building industry. We will become oil independent, energy independent with the restrictions on our electric industry. We will be electric independent, natural gas independent, oil independent, and we will also remove the regulations from our building industry to actually allow builders to build within 5 months instead of 5 years, and actually take a third of the price of a home off of the price of that home just because the builders have to recover those fees that they had to pay the state government. Our state is being ruined by regulation, and with me as the governor, we will remove those regulations that are absolutely harming and destroying the state of California. Because the price of gas is the highest in the country, because the cost of living is the highest in the country, because the cost of homes is the highest in the country, that is why we cannot live here. And all of it is 100% because of a failed government agenda. And the only way you're going to get that is by voting Republican. And the only Republican on your ballot that has proof of concept is Chad Bianco.
Sheriff Bianco, from where we sit, many families are not just struggling to find housing, they are struggling to stay housed, often spending up to 80% of their income on rent. How would your administration better align housing assistance programs with the real cost of living in California?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about housing assistance programs that we're just going to take more money from everyone else to give to someone else. That is not how this country was founded. We are not socialist. To be quite brutal and frank, if you love socialism so much, move to a socialist country so you can have the same thing that everybody else has. That is not how this country was designed. So let's stop talking about socialism. The way you make housing affordable is you allow builders to actually build homes. Only in California, why does it take 3 to 5 years to build a house in California? It doesn't take that long in any other part of the country. Any other part of the country, including in the middle of winter in some states, it takes 90 days, 3 months, 5 months to build a home. California is 3 to 5 years because of government regulation, government red tape, government bureaucracy, and environmental terrorism that is preventing growth in California. You remove that obstacle, you remove those restrictions, and now builders can actually build homes. They can build all of the homes that we want. That's why we have a shortage. When we no longer have a shortage, supply and demand brings the house down, the price of homes down immediately. The regulatory fees that are causing a third of that price of a home to be added to that price of a home that we have to pay, we can no longer afford to pay, so the builders can no longer even afford to build. This is not about a purchase availability problem. This is about a building affordability problem. Our builders cannot afford to build the homes that we can afford to buy. And it's the government's fault. It is regulatory process, the CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, the California Coastal Commission, and many, many other boards and commissions that allow a bureaucratic red tape and bloat to just keep taking more money from builders that makes it impossible to build. Stop talking about taking more money away from people that are working hard for it. Let's talk about how we're going to stimulate the economy naturally, how we're supposed to, without the government getting in the way, and allow builders to build. When we have more homes built, that automatically brings the price of the homes down. That automatically has to bring rent down, because people that are going to rent, you can't rent for more than what it costs to buy a home. This isn't Chad Bianco even saying this. This is economics 101. And we have completely removed common sense and reason from government. And we have gone into a motion of, oh, somebody can't afford this, or we need assistance, and we need all these things. No, we don't. We need government to get out of the way so we can run this state like every other state in the country, because no one else is experiencing what California is experiencing.
All right, here's the next question. The subject is Medi-Cal and Cal-AIM. So Cal-AIM is an expansion of Medi-Cal that allows health insurance to pay for certain things that aren't considered traditional medical care, like housing and meals. It costs $1.2 billion a year. Now, Cal-AIM would be cut off in December without a federal waiver. If the Trump administration refuses, will you fight to keep it? And what's your backup plan if you lose?
No, I'm not fighting to keep it. We have people that have made a lifetime out of this, and we've enabled people to be comfortable with just getting something from the government, and it has to stop. We have the highest unemployment. We have businesses leaving on a daily basis, massive companies leaving that take jobs away, and we have the highest unemployment in the state. It is the government that is creating our issues here, and we are not going down the path. If California wants the path of socialism, then vote for any one of the Democrats that are on the ballot, because that's what you're going to get. That's what we've seen for the last 30 years, the direction that we're going, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and closer to that every single year. We cannot have these government created conditions that enable people to be comfortable with what they have and then be threatened with it taken away with no consequence of it being taken away. I'm not going to fight for it. I'm going to bring businesses back into this state. I'm going to prevent them from leaving. We are going to have more jobs than they'll be fighting for jobs, increasing wages, because of the businesses here. That's how they compete, is they increase wages. We are going to move to no state income tax in this state. So you're no longer going to be overburdened by the highest taxes in the entire country. The state is failing because the state is failing. People are not failing. And if we continue down these government programs, the same way we've been doing things over and over and over, our state is actually doomed. We are going to eliminate these broken systems and broken things that are enabling all of this to happen. And we're going to get back to consequences. We're going to get back for work as hard as you want to achieve as much as you want. And the government is not going to take it away from you.
Through our work, we see that even small increases in income can make a meaningful difference for families, helping them stay housed, keep their jobs, and support their children. What role should the state play in strengthening income stability for working families?
They should reduce the cost of living. That's exactly what they should do. If the government mandates an increase in pay, then that mandates the increase in the cost of living. It is Economics 101. And until we get over this, I'm owed something and somebody has to give me something instead of I can work as hard as I absolutely want and get more, we're never getting out of the situation that California government has put us in. It is absolutely failing, and insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Everything about our broken California government has to absolutely change. We are destroying the economic situation for every single family in California. And it's not about giving them more money. It's about reducing the things that they have to pay. If you make $100,000 and $50,000 is taken from immediately away from you because of taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, income taxes, all of those things, it's actually more than 50%. Of course, you don't have any money. How about we lower the cost of living? How about we eliminate the state income tax like 10 other states that are absolutely thriving in this country because they don't tax their residents? How about we do things that actually work and support and encourage the environment of California, the economic environment, to increase and get better instead of stagnating it or stabilizing it or putting the government thumb on it to make it to where it doesn't happen. This is easy to fix. It's stop what we have to pay, not give us more money. We're making great money. We make more money than any other state in the entire country. And it's the things that we have to pay for why we don't have money. So how about as a government, we stop increasing artificially those things? Lower the cost of living, lower the price of homes, lower the cost of gas, lower the cost of oil, lower the cost of electricity. Every single one of those is only as high as it is because our current California state government has made it that high. And I'm reducing it. I don't have to increase our wages. I'm going to take away what you have to pay, which is going to give you far more money in your pocket than giving you a 50-cent raise.
All right, more financial questions here. The federal funding cuts and backfilling is the topic here. California counties have recently said that President Trump's big, beautiful bill will cut federal funding by $9.5 billion a year just to them alone. How exactly will you backfill those federal dollars?
Well, we're paying $14 billion for illegal aliens to get medical care. Our government is so overwrought with waste, fraud, and abuse. People have to go to jail. People have to be punished for stealing our money, embezzling our money, taking our money, fraudulently giving away our tax money. All of these nonprofits, NGOs that are doing nothing but making themselves wealthy and funding election campaigns for the people giving them their money absolutely has to stop. Stop blaming the federal government. It is California government that has destroyed this state. We have had a president of the United States that's a Republican for 1 year. 1 year. Stop blaming President Trump for the destruction of 16 years of one-party rule and truly 80 years of Democrat control of the Assembly and the Senate. They have had complete control of the Assembly and the Senate since the 1950s. We only have a small reprieve every 20 years of a Republican governor. This is Democrat caused in California only. Stop blaming the federal government. There is billions of dollars. We had a 23-year-old from another state come to California and in one weekend identified 200 billion in waste. And then that's a small exaggeration. So much so that we now have a legislature who is going to pass a bill that journalists can expose waste, fraud, and abuse. That's how corrupt this state government is. Instead of complaining about President Trump, complaining about the federal government, start being honest about what our problem is. Let's start addressing it for what our problem is. And our problem is a completely failed ideological agenda, basically a social experiment from a one-party Democrat progressive rule, and it has to stop in 2026 or California is going to be doomed.
Okay, so last question, I think. All right. United Way is focused on helping young people build real pathways from school to career, especially those who have been left out of opportunity. What concrete investments would you make to strengthen that connection in California?
So that question is not to be rude, but that's finally an amazing question instead of the last ones that you've been asking me. Entities like the United Way, who are absolutely providing pathways, providing help, providing assistance for someone else to get better, that's what we have to support. That's what the government is supposed to be supporting, not just randomly throwing money at things, but to specific organizations and specific entities who are actually trying to help someone get back on their feet. It is not the role of the government to just provide lifetime services to any particular person. As humans, we all feel sorry for someone that is down on their luck, in bad times, going through a hard time in their life, and we all feel sorry for people where we should lift them up and help them. And organizations like the United Way, and there are many, many more that are also legitimate and good organizations. Those are the organizations that government is supposed to be helping that have a concrete, evidence-based proof of concept, of being able to help people, of short-term help, of getting people a job or job training or housing assistance or something like that in the short term, so we can get them back on their feet, so they can be productive again, or they can, basically just get off hard times. At the worst case scenario, we don't want someone living on the street anymore. We have to get past that, and we have to end that government debacle. But industry and organizations like the United Way are a perfect prime example of things that are done right, that is outside of state government. It is our government breaking things. And if we looked to organizations like the United Way and many, many others, I don't want to just say it's you, there are many others like you, but that is how we help people. And we help people in the short term to get them back to either the progress that they were experiencing before, or the life that they had before, or at least off of hard times, so they can now get, breath above water, get their head above water, so they can back on their feet, take care of their kids, get into the job market, get into the housing market, anything, whatever the case may be. But we should be helping organizations like this. But where we are going currently in our state government, the function, the direction, the organization, and the spending of our state government is absolutely, completely backwards, and it's failing us.
All right. Well, that wraps up our list of questions for you. Chad Bianco, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That concludes this episode of Voices of Californians, a nonpartisan gubernatorial podcast. We thank all the candidates who joined us for participating and sharing their perspectives with voters across California.
We believe democracy works best when people feel informed, respected, and included. The purpose of this conversation is to bring people together, to listen, and to help create a space for thoughtful civic engagement. As a reminder, the views shared today belong solely to the candidates and do not reflect the positions of United Way or our CBS News Sacramento partner.
And we encourage you to continue learning about the candidates and the issues, and to participate in the democratic process. Videos from other candidates who agree to participate in this conversation are available now. Visit CBS News Sacramento or yourlocalunitedway.org to view them. Doctor?
Now, oftentimes people are going to feel inspired once they watch these videos, and they may ask, how do I register to vote? How do I check if I am registered, or check out some of the other candidates? You can go to the Secretary of State's voter guide. It's up on their website right now to view all those things. I want to also say I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you, Steve. I want to also thank you so much for leading this conversation.
And thank you, Dr. Early. And thanks for watching this episode of Voices of Californians, a nonpartisan gubernatorial podcast for Dr. Dawnté Early and the United Way of California's Capital Region. I'm Steve Large, CBS News, Sacramento.